All right, we're live, and today I want to talk about delegation. Delegation is super important, and if you know anything about my history, my first job, and this is important to set this context. My first job ever was like 12 years old, Fat Dutchie's comic book shop, Palatine, Illinois, and I would go there all the time, right? Uh, Looking at the comic books, looking at the superhero figures, looking at the baseball, basketball, football cards, all that good stuff. Chuck Furman was the owner. And at some point, I think he just got sick of having me in the store. And he said, "Listen, kid, do you want a job? You can count the comic books, right? Count the inventory. And if there's, five Batman left at the end of the month, write that down. And if I know I ordered 40 at the beginning of the month, I sold 35 copies because there's five left. I know how many to order in future months." So that was the job. And Chuck would pay me 20 bucks. He would buy me lunch and he'd let me bring home as many comics as I could read. And I'm forever, in debt and grateful to him. Now, one of those comics that I used to count, here's the connection, was X-Force. And if you are an X-Force fan, and this is the 1990s when I'm reading X-Force, the team may have changed. Anyways, Jamie Madrox was the leader of X-Force, and his superhero persona is called Multiple Man, and that's all about delegation, right? So his superpower is he could multiply himself and be in a million different places, and there could be like literally 100 Jamies doing all this stuff or fighting evil, whatever superheroes do. And that's what effective delegation does. You are able to multiply yourself through others. You can build your capacity, the capacity of your team, and create more results for your organization. So that's the context and why I shared that story about my first job at the comic book shop. So let's talk delegation. Back in the day, uh, my old relationship with delegation was one of frustration, right? I would often be upset with the results that came back from a task or a project, that I delegated. And that's all my fault. I need to own that. And that's because I didn't have a tried and true process that guaranteed results in advance. And I'd like to talk about that process with you today. So if you've ever delegated a task or project, and people went out and did it and then they brought it back and they were like pumped and excited, like, "Look at what I created for you," and you're like, "What is that? Are you speaking the same language?" That's a communication problem. That's a process problem, and I have just what you need to fix it. So let's talk about the process today. Some of the things that you need to consider when you're thinking about delegation, and I'm talking about the old way. So if you want a new way where it feels light, right? You're excited to delegate. Again, the process guarantees results in advance. If you want to build energy and momentum within your culture by having this process, everybody wins, right? That's the motto of Better Leaders, Better Schools too. Everybody wins when a leader gets better. So some things I want you to consider is like defining the boundaries, right? Like this seems really simple, but often it's vague. And you think that you're explaining everything in detail, but then somebody goes out and does it, and they come back and it's wrong. And that's because you haven't defined the boundaries specifically. Think about your resources too, right? So depending on the task, one thing that I delegate back in the day, right, 2015 when I started the mastermind, I would always order the books. We read a different book every 2 months within the mastermind leadership book, so I would order them. That's not my zone of genius. It's not my superpower. It's probably not a good use of my time, right? And so then my Mama Ruckus Maker, started to order books for me, and she did a wonderful job. And now I have somebody on my team ordering the books, right? So when I say consider resources, something like as simple as making sure people have a password, for example, if you order through Amazon or somewhere else, can people access, what they need in order to do the task? It's a simple idea there, but often people forget that kind of stuff. So it might be a password. It might be uh, different accounts. It might be industry knowledge. It might be your network, right? So if you've been around the block and you have been in education like I have for decades, my network and my industry knowledge is going to be vast compared to somebody who is just entering education. However, if they've got great skills and I want to delegate a project or task to them, I might need to download somehow the industry knowledge. Or let's say we're talking about school redesign. My friend Jethro Jones loves to play with that topic, and he's really smart when it comes to school redesign. And so, anyways, I might connect this new person that I'm delegating to, right? And do an email introduction to Jethro. So maybe they can meet for a little bit of time and get some information about whatever project on school redesign. And that wouldn't happen if I didn't consider the network, the industry knowledge, and that kind of thing. All right. Let's talk about constraints. So part of the process too is identifying the constraints. Is there a deadline, time deadline? Is there a budget that people need to stay within and other constraints like that? Renee Brown has an idea called paint done. And so that's talking about success. And this is a part of the process. So clearly defining what success looks like. When Renee talks about paint done, think about it, right? If this is my sister's house, if they're going to repaint the house, hopefully they know the color they want, the style, this kind of stuff, and make all those decisions prior to starting to paint the house. Because the fact of the matter is, once that house is done being painted, the paint is dry, the job is done. If they don't like, the end result, it's going to be a very costly mistake in terms of time and money. So you should really identify with your team and think through what does paint done look like prior to them starting off in terms of delegation. Think about feedback loops. So, are you going to be a part of the process every step of the way? Are there different milestones that you want to check in with your team? And when do you want to be contacted? So feedback loops, you're providing feedback. If there's an emergency, that kind of thing, you know, do you want to be contacted at all? Right. So for example, if my team is ordering books and they know to buy the books at a certain dollar amount or less, right? Just pretty much get it done. I don't need to be contacted. I don't even want to know that the books are all ordered. I get an email showing me from Amazon that the books have been ordered, right? And so in this scenario, the only reason to contact me is that my team's looked in multiple places for the book that we want to read within the mastermind, and it's just not there, right? So pretty much I don't want to be contacted unless like they've exhausted all avenues of buying the book, and hopefully that makes sense. All right. I want to talk a little more about training, and I have an interesting idea for you. And I learned it from this guy, Ari Meisel, who he did a podcast in business called Less Doing. And he's super smart. So I'm really grateful for him teaching me this. And this works like magic. So you definitely want to write this down or replay the video. Okay. Part of the bulletproof process, the secret is, for me, let's use the book example again. I might record myself ordering the books. And this could be you recording yourself, you're a principal, maybe it's entering discipline data into your student information system. Maybe it's recording how you craft the monthly newsletter for parents or for your community. So whatever it is you do, video yourself doing it, and to the best of your ability, right? Like metacognitively explain all the steps of the process, that kind of thing. So step one, record the video. Step two, after that video is recorded, then give it to a second person on your team. And this is the really important point. The second person on the team, give this to somebody who's not going to be responsible for actually doing the project or task. The reason they have the video is they're going to watch you doing the thing, and they're going to create a checklist based on observing you and whatever you share. All right, so that's step two. Now the person is going to hand that video off to a third person who actually will be responsible for that task or project. And the beauty of this process is the video was you doing the thing, metacognition, explaining how you do it. Step two, new person, not responsible for the task or project, making the checklist. Step three, giving it to the person who actually is going to do it, and they try to do the thing. And what's going to happen, what you'll find out, you've made mistakes, right? Because it's like riding a bike. All the little tiny steps of how to do that, there's things you just gloss over because it's unconscious, it's automatic at this point. Your brain conserves energy because it doesn't have to say step one, step two, step three. You just know to hop on the bike and start pedaling, right? So the person that's responsible for the task or project, they're highlighting the checklist saying, okay, this doesn't make sense. I don't have this information. You told me to do this here, but it's unclear. And then step four is to polish and revise that checklist, fill in all the missing information. And I'm telling you, I hope you've been watching this long. If you follow that four-step process, it is absolutely foolproof. You can hand it to any intelligent, sentient being walking down the street, and theoretically, they should be able to follow the checklist because you've done it in the video. A second teammate has created a checklist. A third teammate responsible for the project has identified all the holes. And step four, you've clarified everything. You've polished it up. You've made the checklist perfect. And now you have an incredible checklist. All right. That's pretty much all I want to talk about today regarding delegation. If you're watching this video live or on the replay, I have a special offer for you. It's totally free. I am going to sell this offer in the future, but for people watching right now live or the replay, today's May 18th, 2022. This offer is good for all of May. Starting June, no more offer, okay? I have something called Delegation Masterclass, where I talk about the 3 obstacles to effective delegation, 3 top benefits to effective delegation. I run through, let's see here, the 6 levels. Ari Meisel also taught me this, the 6 levels of delegation. So there's not just one, which would be maybe micromanaging, or another, which might be complete abdication. It's nuanced, and you will love that part. We talked about the bulletproof process or the foolproof process. That's also in the training. How to identify the task to delegate. So there's two options for you in terms of how to figure out what tasks and you want to get off your plate. And then I have some worksheets. I have some PDFs which you can complete, and it has a process that will clarify your thinking when you download your brain and you want to identify and then hand off a task or a project. There's a worksheet to fill out it'll make it crystal clear for you, but it also is crystal clear for your teammate of what you actually want to get done. So that is an extremely valuable download. And then there's the 2 ways to identify those tasks and projects. So if you want that stuff, the video training, the worksheets, 100% free for May, just put a little thumbs up emoji in the comments below, or just say like yes or something. And I will go through all the places, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and I'll make sure that I get you the training 100% free. Starting in June, it's going to be $100, the training and the worksheets. But for you today, special gift for Ruckus Maker Nation, because my mission is to connect, mentor, and coach every school leader who wants to level up. I'm going to fulfill that right now, and I want to be generous. So just put a thumbs up or a yes, or if you don't want it, that's fine. Okay, last thing before we leave. If you're watching this replay, I'm also super curious, just what was your number one insight from what I taught today regarding delegation? Or if you still have a question when it comes to delegation, let me know, and I will do my best to answer. All right, have a great day. I have to go to a mastermind. Bye for now, and go make a ruckus.